We're counting down 15 Christmas traditions from the 1960s and 70s that vanished completely. From communal high street spectacles and crafty homemade decorations to rituals that once defined a generation, each entry reveals how British families celebrated the festive season in ways seldom seen today. Some disappeared quietly with changing fashions, others faded as supermarkets, technology, and new safety concerns reshaped the holiday landscape. Which beloved custom claimed the most iconic spot? And what small moments of nostalgia will surprise you along the way? Let's begin our countdown with a tradition that turned every December shopping trip into pure theatrical magic. No 15. No 15. Department store pantomime matinees and window grottos turned city shopping into a December spectacle. In Liverpool and Manchester, Lewis's staged full pantomimes, Cinderella, Aladdin, drawing hundreds of children for weekday matinees, tickets clutched tight, parents relieved to rest weary feet. Harrods and Selfridges in London followed suit, their event spaces echoing with laughter and the shrill of tin whistles handed out as souvenirs. Animated window displays unveiled in late November, mechanical elves, polar bears, and swirling snow became appointment viewing, crowds pressing against frosted glass while carols played on loop. Local newspapers listed showtimes and window launch evenings, marking the start of the season as surely as the first frost. For many, these outings offered a rare taste of live theatre, a brush with magic before the family tree went up at home. By the late 1970s, as retail moved to the suburbs and multiplexes claimed the crowds, the matinee tradition faded, leaving behind only yellowing playbills and half-remembered songs. Yet for those who queued in the cold, the memory lingers, a time when the high street itself starred in the Christmas story. No. 14. The curbside Christmas tree stall brought the scent of pine and the bustle of trade to British streets each December. Vendors arrived before dawn, unloading fresh-cut spruces from battered vans, their hands rough from rope and resin. Council permits hung from lapels or stall posts, a mark of legitimacy in a trade that thrived on trust and local reputation. Buyers haggled over fullness, pointing out bold patches, prodding trunks, while handwritten price tags flapped in the wind. 7 shillings for a modest tree in 1965, rising to £4 by the mid-70s, though regulars might bargain for a holly sprig or a better deal as Christmas Eve drew near. Families debated their choice, children circling the display, parents testing weight and freshness, eyeing burlap wraps that promised roots still damp from the forest. The journey home became a ritual in itself. Trees balanced on prams, strapped to bicycle crossbars, or carried between two siblings along terraced streets. These markets faded as garden centres and supermarkets offered pre-netted uniform trees with longer hours and less fuss. Yet in memory, it is the street seller's call and the sharp, living aroma of pine that signaled the true beginning of Christmas. No. 13. The aluminium Christmas tree shimmered into British homes at the height of the space age, promising a future where even tradition would sparkle with modernity. Brushed silver branches, spun from lightweight metal, caught the glow of revolving color wheels, lamps that bathed the tree in shifting pools of red, green, blue, and gold. For a brief window in the late 1960s, these trees stood as the ultimate statement of modern taste, their geometric symmetry and metallic sheen reflecting the optimism of the era. Catalogues from 1967 boasted of no needles to sweep up, while design magazines praised their clean lines and futuristic glamour. Children watched mesmerized as the entire tree cycled through a rainbow. The living room transformed into a scene from tomorrow's world. Yet the fashion faded almost as quickly as it arrived. By the early 1970s, families quietly packed away their aluminium trees, returning to the scent and mess of real pine. The color wheels flickered out, relics of a moment when Christmas tried on the future. Briefly, brilliantly, before the world moved on. Number 12. The school nativity play and classroom party once stood as December's main event for children across Britain. Every pupil found a role: angel, shepherd, star, or innkeeper, no matter how crowded the cast, with teachers scribbling names onto homemade scripts and assigning parts weeks in advance. Costumes emerged from the backs of cupboards and the ingenuity of mothers and grandmothers. Old bedsheets dyed with tea for shepherds, tinsel halos wired from last year's decorations, cardboard crowns painted with leftover gold. Parent volunteers stitched, pinned, and sometimes sewed entire outfits by hand, their efforts recorded in teacher logbooks and PTA notes preserved in school archives. The classroom itself transformed: crepe paper streamers, paper snowflakes taped to windows, and tables groaning with homemade fairy cakes and sausage rolls, each treat carefully counted to make sure every child received one. In the final week, lessons gave way to rehearsals and party games, the air thick with anticipation and the scent of paste from paper crafts. Letters from the era describe the thrill of standing on stage, parents packed onto benches, flashes from box cameras capturing nervous smiles. By the late 1970s, tightening curricula and new health and safety rules began to squeeze out these rituals, replacing them with more structured, less communal celebrations. Yet for a generation, the memory of a whole class singing "Away in a Manger," costumes slipping, voices trembling, remains a small stage drama where every child starred. Number 11. Christmas television variety specials once stitched together. The nation's living rooms with a single thread of laughter and spectacle. In the era of just 2 or 3 channels, the holiday broadcast schedule became an event in itself, circled in the radio times weeks ahead, debated in playgrounds and office canteens alike. Families clustered around the set, plates of mince pies balanced on knees, as Morecambe and Wise, the 2 Ronnies, or Val Doonican, delivered sketches and musical numbers crafted for maximum festive cheer. Audience figures soared. BARB ratings from the early 1970s record over 20 million viewers tuning in for Christmas night with the stars, a figure unimaginable in today's fragmented media world. The next day, scenes from the previous evening's show became instant currency. Children mimicked catchphrases in the street, while adults dissected punchlines over Boxing Day leftovers. For one night, the country laughed and gasped together, a fleeting unity built from shared appointment viewing. Yet as video recorders, satellite channels, and on-demand programming crept in, the ritual of gathering for a single broadcast faded. What endures is the memory of a time when everyone knew what was on, and the Christmas special was more than entertainment. It was a national gathering, replayed in stories long after the credits rolled. No 10. The Christmas of 1973 arrived beneath the shadow of the 3-day week, when the nation's lights dimmed and families faced a holiday shaped by rationed power. Rotating blackouts swept through December, plunging whole streets into darkness with little warning. Housewives planned dinners by torchlight, while fathers checked the radio for the latest outage schedule. Kitchens echoed with the hiss of camping stoves and the click of matches, as roast potatoes browned in borrowed ovens or on borrowed time. Children learned to eat by candlelight, their faces flickering in the gloom, while mothers wrapped hot bricks in towels to keep puddings warm. Oral histories recall neighbors stringing extension leads between terraced houses, sharing sockets and ovens in a spirit of quiet defiance. In some flats, Sunday school halls opened their kitchens, inviting anyone with a raw bird or a cold pie to make use of the heat before the next blackout. The hum of community deepened, recipes were swapped, spare candles shared, and the hardship of the moment softened by laughter and collective thrift. Newsreel footage from that winter captures families clustered around paraffin heaters, the glow of a single lantern illuminating mince pies and mugs of stewed tea. The crisis lasted only a season, but its memory lingers as proof that, even when the lights went out, Christmas found a way to shine. Improvise, communal, and marked by a resilience that turned scarcity into celebration. Number 9. Local Christmas savings clubs once anchored the festive hopes of working-class Britain, their ledgers thick with the names and pennies of neighbours bound by trust. Each January, the ritual began anew. Members slipped a shilling or two across the bar of the local pub, the counter at the corner shop, or the pay office at the factory, each coin entered in careful columns by a trusted treasurer. By December, those modest weekly deposits, often no more than a few bob, had swollen into lump sums of £50, or even £100, enough to transform a bare Christmas into one of abundance. Payout day brought its own drama. In smoky back rooms and tiled public bars, treasurers unlocked battered tin boxes and counted out crisp notes and coins, watched by a circle of anxious faces. For many, this was the only way to afford a turkey from the butcher, a new toy from Woolworths, or tinsel for the tree. The club's ledger was more than a financial record. It was a register of community faith, each signature a small act of mutual reliance. Yet the system ran on personal honor, and when a treasurer absconded, or the sums failed to add up, the loss struck deep. Christmas dreams dashed, trust broken, headlines splashed across the local paper. Still, for decades, these clubs offered security and anticipation, a slow build of excitement as December approached. Their decline began with the rise of bank accounts, building societies, and the first credit cards, impersonal, efficient, but lacking the warmth of a payout shared among friends. The memory lingers in stories of careful saving, and the thrill of a December windfall, when thrift and community made Christmas possible for those who might otherwise have gone without. 8th place, real candles on Christmas trees flickered with a beauty that belonged to another age. A tradition borrowed from Victorian parlours, stubbornly clinging on in British homes through the 1960s. Clip-on brass holders, each cradling a slender white taper, were fixed to the tips of fir branches, their flames dancing in the drafts of chilly living rooms. Mothers lit the candles only for a few minutes on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, the family standing by in quiet awe, buckets of water and sand kept at the ready just in case. In some households, children were sent to fetch extra towels and reminded to keep well back, the air thick with caution and anticipation. London Fire Brigade reports from the late 60s recorded dozens of seasonal fires linked to candles and decorations, anxieties that grew with every headline about tragedy striking at the heart of Christmas. Insurance companies began to take notice, inserting stern warnings into policy leaflets and, in rare cases, refusing cover where open flames were part of the festive display. By 1972, safety campaigns filled newspapers and radio slots, urging families to trade romance for reliability. The shift was swift. Electric fairy lights, affordable at Woolworths and promised as safe, replaced the old ritual almost overnight. Yet for those who remember, the memory of a tree lit by real candlelight, its fragile glow, its hush of collective hope and fear, remains unmatched. A vanished moment where beauty and danger burned side by side.